Those opposed?
Do you want me to go ahead and read the roll?
Yeah, read it again. Yeah,
Roll call
go ahead.
vote. Okay, Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Here. All right, let's start this again. And I apologize to the public if they were waiting to get online. We were beginning to have some conversation here about starting the meeting. So I need a motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Is there anybody opposed? Seeing none, Catherine, will you read will you call the roll?
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. So the minutes are approved. Informational reports and presentation. Jim, I'm going to kind of pass this to you for guidance because I don't see our district attorney here. So he had a memo that he put forth.
Correct. The chair, Mr. Gordon, asked for the district attorney to come and talk about the status of
You're not working.
court and how the district attorney was unable to participate with us this evening, but he was gracious enough to write a memo to the commissioners that is in your packets this evening, talking about the jail pretrial defendants and the process behind it all right now.
One of the comments that has come out of this question is that, and since we have three people in the profession here, we asked if we might be able to obtain somebody from judiciary to talk about what was going on, because we have a number of people that are awaiting trial. And I understand that there's a little bit of a hold off or not wanting to participate. So I just passed that on to you. Moving on to the next item, unless there's questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I wonder if the memo that was fairly extensive from the district attorney might be appended to our minutes for this meeting in lieu of the public presentation, so anybody that wants to see it will be able to look at the minutes.
Okay, I have no problem with that. Does anybody else have a problem with that? I don't think so.
No.
Thank you. Update from the sheriff on the status of the jail. Sheriff Joyce.
So I was prepared to kind of talk about the district attorney's letter briefly. We do work together. The numbers he's given is about 4% of the people that he has, his caseload is locked up in the Cumberland County Jail. Of those, 70% of the pretrial defendants have 2 or more cases. That's why they're in jail. Vast majority, 30% of the defendants are held on high cash bail for serious allegations, including elevated aggravated assault, gross sexual assault, robbery, domestic violence assault, reckless conduct with a dangerous weapon, aggravated sex trafficking, aggravated drug trafficking. And as you mentioned, because of COVID, the court is not moving at rapid pace as we've expected. And they're trying to get a few cases dismissed or through the court system as much as possible. So that has created the backlog. The same is true for the federal courts. In fact, during a conversation I recently had with a member of the court, they said it was going very, very slow on the federal side as well. So kind of indicative of the times we are in with COVID. As far as the jail is concerned, we have 301 individuals today. Thankfully, it's been staying under 300 roughly since we opened up back in late October. We have 11 cases of COVID. They will all drop off. Knock on wood, we don't get any more cases by December 22nd. And then we can start maybe looking at offloading 7 inmates that really should go to DOC. And they haven't. They've been adding up since we started on this COVID outbreak back in September. We have no employees that I'm aware of out with COVID at this. No, actually, we do. Captain Costello and one of our other supervisors are out. So we do have 2 people out. And they're due to be back before Christmas as well. The hiring, we have about 8 people hired at varying levels. There's 4 working today or on the floor. One started today. He's a certified guy. So hopefully he'll be through field training the rest of this week and next, and we'll be on the floor by Christmas. We have 1 waiting to go to the academy. We have 1 in the academy still finishing up. We have a individual that's going to start on the 27th. And we have 1 that's signed on to take a job in March of 2022. So apparently he needs to find housing and he's moving from out of state. So we'll see how that goes. My concern coming into this is that for the period of March through September, we had an agreement with the union and we were able to spread the overtime out. There was mandated 3 overtime shifts throughout the month, and individuals could sign up at their own leisure. When we asked to renew that, that didn't happen. So I've been working today, probably tomorrow, on trying to figure out what our staffing level is going to be for the Christmas weekend coming up. A little concerning because we're continually holding people over constantly. My command staff is working shifts to try to give the people a break. What I've seen is we've got some great people, but they're just tired out. So we're trying to insert ourselves so they can get a night off and maybe get caught up on sleep. So we're working amongst ourselves to try to figure out if we can make it through the holiday, given the fact that we're going into one day with a lot of people going to be needed to held over, and quite frankly, the union contract or the collective bargaining unit contract going to be working against us. We will be shutting down intake as far as just felonies. We'll be accepting felonies through the holidays, so that that will give us a little bit of time to move some people out of intake and move them to the floors so we can cut down on the number of people we're holding over. And if it gets really, really bad, I may entertain a full shutdown of intake for the Christmas weekend in order to get through and operate the jail safely. We're looking at other things. If the moon and the planets line up correctly and we get rid of COVID, I can close down a pod and possibly close down medical if we don't have anybody that needs medical, which will find us 2 spots. So we're moving some pieces around, trying to figure out how we maneuver through this. Like I said, I've often said, why are we so in a position now when through the summer we seem to be holding our own? And that's because that agreement from March until September of mandating 3 scheduled shifts really helped us out. And there's no appetite for the union at this point to do that. So really, that's what we have right now. There's a handful of people in the hiring process. We scrapped about 15 people that filed applications, and then throughout the process became incommunicado. And the chief has just gotten frustrated because in some cases we haven't heard from them in months. So the hiring is okay, still not what we expected. So I'll entertain any questions regarding that.
Do any of the commissioners have questions of the sheriff on this issue? Tom?
I don't have a question as such, but I do want to commend the sheriff for efforts that have been have been going on for a long time of working with the courts and with the prosecutors to keep people out of the jail. I know that's a thing that helps us out tremendously financially. And if it can be done without, impairing public safety, which it sounds like it has, then I'm really pleased that you've kept up those efforts, because however difficult our situation is, it would be worse if we had more people there. And so anybody who doesn't need to be there should be out. And I know you've been keeping track of that. And this is part of an effort that's been going on for months and months. So I'm not surprised at your comments, and I just wanted to thank you very much for keeping the pressure on that, because that helps us out a lot.
So I'll also say one thing I forgot is I've released as many people sentenced as I possibly or I dare to, because sometimes you walk a knife's edge on releasing people early. I looked into January and early February, and the people that are due to be released on January, February are some pretty high risk people, domestic violence, et cetera. And really it's a line that, I won't cross just to get rid of them. So I forgot that in my briefing as well.
Yeah, it's a fine balance. And I guess what I'm saying is I appreciate you paying such attention to it. And I'm praising you for the amount of effort and attention you've paid to this, because I think it pays dividends, and we always have to balance public safety against, the economics of running a jail. So I'm fully very sympathetic to that. I think I see the ongoing effort. I just wanted to mark that. And I appreciate it. So thank you very much.
And I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Any other questions of the sheriff? I've got a couple. Sheriff, you said you may shut the jail down as far as receiving people on Christmas weekend. What will occur with those individuals that would normally be taken there?
I don't know. The reality is this, that is a last ditch effort. Because of what we can't predict what that weekend's going to look like. I can't ask another jail to take on something that, because of people wanting the time off for the holiday. So, again, I'm hoping we don't get to that point, but, much like hospitals that are turning people away now, et cetera, we still need to vet that out, but right now there's no plan. And I would hate to think that we got to that point. And you know what, maybe it's that we shut it down and people are calling me and I'm on the phone basically saying, yeah, okay, we'll take that person based on public safety. We won't take that person. Again, I hope we don't get to that point, but one thing I've found in working with the staff over there, we got some great people that they're in it for the long haul, but they're tired. I had one individual I worked with last Monday night that, she's taking it in stride, but she was held over for the third night in a row. And she was tired. And, we're trying to balance, and I know other law enforcement agencies have staffing issues. Our law enforcement have staffing issues, but, the reality is they're out there doing their job, but I've got to try to look out for our staff's well-being, the inmates' well-being, the public's well-being. And again, that becomes a kind of a knife's edge. And I just got to start thinking about various things. I mentioned the county manager. I don't want to do it, but at some point, the federal inmate issue becomes an issue. You know, we need the revenue to operate because that offsets the budget. But, you know, if I got rid of federal inmates today, I could potentially close a pod. However, you know, we still have influxes of local and state local police coming in and dropping their people. So, you know, if they were to bring in a bunch of people, I'd have to open the pod back up. So what have I gained? So, you know, I sometimes you feel like the old school vehicle maintenance technician that's trying to tune the carburetor on a car. And if you go too much one way or too much the other, the car doesn't run right. And that's really the day-to-day operation right now with the staffing we have. And again, it's no one's fault. It's just we're not, we're getting some people, you know, that's better than what we were, but it's not like they're coming in droves.
The other thing I'd like to bring up at this time, just to toss it out into the commissioners, is maybe it's time we try to put a group together in the county that begins to find out if there's some way we can address the stress that we're beginning to see that's occurring with all the individuals in these particular areas. I mean, we hear it, we've heard about it month on month on month. And I just toss that out as something that I suggest that we begin to give some consideration to, because the impact on our people is obvious. They're quitting. They're looking for excuses not to come to work. And their supervisory people are saying, hey, they're just plain plumb tired out. You can't run a machine at 110% of its operation forever, and people are even more so. So I guess I put that to the management to give some consideration for us. Is there any other questions of the sheriff at this time? Well, then I move on to the next one, which I believe the sheriff is yours, is also a report on the alarm policy.
I saw that.
I'll save you on this one, Sheriff.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Watonis requested last week an update on how the alarm policy that the commissioners put in place maybe two and a half years ago is going. And Alyssa from the finance office has provided some background information on the last year, 2021, showing that we've had 415 alarms. We average about 38 a month, and the revenue from those alarms thus far is just over $4,800. Alyssa put together some nice charts. I won't go through them, but I'll let you all take a look at them. But that's pretty much what we're seeing for false alarms around the county for the calendar year 2021.
Is there any questions of the manager on this topic? The question I have, and I'm sorry that I don't understand the policy or know the policy. Are those that are continually repeating, do they suffer some charge or something like that? Yes,
we have a sliding scale. So up to, I think it flattens out at 3 false alarms. But there is a sliding scale of the fees. So the more false alarms you have, the more you pay.
Thank you. So now I'm in a quandary. Jim, do I pass this update on the vaccination rate to you?
We will invite Mr. Brewer in. Don is ready to present an update to the vaccination side of the house. It's all yours, Don.
Okay. Good evening, all. I want to start the report by saying, as of today, we currently have 87 total vacancies of Cumberland County positions. So I want to make sure everybody understands that we're certainly not fully staffed, but it is holding at 87. We do have 68 vacancies for corrections officers. As the sheriff has mentioned, we're working hard to get people in, but it's not as easy as we would like it to be. And then we have 6 dispatcher vacancies at the Regional Communications Center. And we have, as I'm showing, 5 vacancies for patrol deputies in the sheriff's office. The numbers that I've been given. Then we have a bunch of number of other vacant positions in the other departments, but those are the big 3. So typically when we're fully staffed, we're up closer to 390 to 400. But with these vacancies, we aren't, obviously. But as far as the vaccination rate is concerned, we do have currently 90% of Cumberland County employees are fully vaccinated. And prior, as you know, we offered a vaccination incentive payment, and we've already cut the first round of checks. Prior to that announcement or approval by the commissioners, we had 86% of our workforce was fully vaccinated. So that number is now 90%. So we've gained 4%, and we still have, employees still have until the end of December, the end of this month, to become fully vaccinated. So we are seeing, prior to the vaccination incentive payment announcement, we were at right around 57 unvaccinated employees. The count as of today was 36. So there's 21 new employees have decided to get vaccinated. So the numbers are going in the right direction, and we have a couple of more weeks to go where employees can get vaccinated. We have some departments where there's 100% vaccination rate. That's the probate, the district attorney's staff, emergency management, executive department, and human resources are all 100% fully vaccinated. We do have other departments where there are either 1 or 2 employees who are unvaccinated still, but it's still really good percentages. We have 9 unvaccinated patrol and CID, and we've got 14 unvaccinated employees who work in corrections at the jail. Breaking down a little bit further, we have in corrections, which would really encompass the jail, which would be the unions, the correction officers, and the Teamsters, sergeants and lieutenant positions, the cooks, command staff, and the administration. 90% vaccinated, which is good. And it was 85% vaccination rate prior to the announcement of the incentive. For patrol, actually at the law enforcement center, where we have approximately 56, involves patrol and CID, command staff, and some administration. 86% are vaccinated, and prior to the incentive, the vaccination count rate was 84%. And communications up at the comm center up in Wyndham, we are currently 78% of the staff there are vaccinated, and they have approximately 35 staff there. They do have some vacancies, and 78% are currently vaccinated, and prior to the announcement of the incentive, we were at a 75% vaccination rate. So that's kind of where we're at. 90% overall countywide are vaccinated, where before it was 86. So we've had 21 new employees decide to get vaccinated since the incentive. So we're hoping the numbers are going to continue to drop over the next several weeks through the end of December. So I think the payment, the vaccination incentive has been helpful. We still got a few more left that have decided not to get vaccinated, and some of those folks are pretty dug in and set and determined that they're not, but we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the commissioners? So Dawn, your sense is that the program that we put forth is beginning to function?
Yes, I think it has helped, Commissioner Gordon. I really do. I know that it has incentivized several employees to get vaccinated. I also know that because of the exploding numbers of COVID positives over the past couple of weeks, I think people have decided perhaps they should get vaccinated, whereas maybe they wouldn't have a few weeks ago. I've read that in the newspaper that people are now deciding to get vaccinated. But yes, I do think the incentive was very successful. And I'm hoping in a couple of 3 weeks, if I give this report again with the January meeting, I'm hoping that those numbers will be even less. But right now, we 36 unvaccinated employees out of our workforce. So 90% is a pretty good percentage.
Great. Again, has the commissioners got anything of Dawn?
I would just offer a comment, Steve, and congrats to Don, Jim, the entire executive staff for coming up with the idea, executing the plan, and seeing real results on a short-term basis. Certainly impacts all our personnel in a positive way, and I'm confident that you're going to hit. You might not hit 100%, but we're gonna keep climbing. So again, thank you for your efforts.
Okay. Before we move on to the comments from the public, and if you do have a comment from the public and you want to get it put before us, please submit through an email to kennedy@cumberlandcounty.org. It's important that you have an opportunity to put a topic or a question before us during this meeting at this time. But prior to that, we have some additional people that are sitting here or are on our Zoom meeting that we probably should introduce. We've got Alex Kimball, who is our deputy and CFO, essentially. We've got Travis Kennedy, who keeps us on the straight and narrow and lets us know what's going on with the legislature, and also does a good job with marketing. I know from sitting in the position I'm in that Travis has really assisted me in helping. Liz Blackwell, can you make a few comments? Because I don't think people have heard from you.
Sure. Hi,
And
thank you
Commissioner-
all for having me. Oh, sorry, please go ahead.
I was just going to jump in, formally introduce Liz to the commissioners. I asked Liz to participate this evening because she has met a few of you as you've walked the corridors of the courthouse, but not everyone. Liz joined us towards the end of September as our new public health manager. As the commissioners have heard over the last number of years, I thought a role that the county could play was in public health. And we actually made this a reality just a few months ago. And we were thrilled to have Liz within the applicant pool and eventually brought on as part of our team. And she has been doing a sprint ever since and really doing a lot of hard work on understanding the countywide need of public health and where are the gaps in the world of public health, as we don't want another position just duplicating what's already out there. We want to be able to create some capacity in the areas that need some help. So Liz has been doing a fantastic job, and it's always great to have the weekly discussions with her to see where she has her hands into now. So that's my short introduction of Liz, and I'd turn it over to Liz and have her spend a few minutes just telling you all what she's doing in the world of public health in Cumberland County. Liz, it's all yours.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. It's great to see all of you, and hopefully I'll get to meet you at some point in person as well. I am as you said, the new, doing this role as the public health manager. And essentially the work I've been doing right now is trying to figure out, I've been working in Cumberland County for the last 15 years in public health. So I have some, good sense of all that's happening, but a lot of the work I've been doing right now is going out and talking to lots of people, trying to figure out what's already happening, what's happening going well, where are there gaps, and where are there places where we really feel like county public health could have a role in the future with really addressing some of those gaps. One of the things we know that I'm sure you all have heard much about that's been really has come to light even more for so many people during COVID is the way in which there are really deep health inequities, right? There are some people who are impacted much more by disease and by the structures that exist for them, whether that's poverty or whether that's other structures that are or racism or various ways in which people are impacted that impacts their health. And so part of what I'm looking at is where are those spaces that we could really be impacting some of those health inequities. So I don't have a plan yet, but we're working towards that. I have an advisory committee that's just agreed to be a part of an advisory committee as we start to look at where are those gaps and what is a plan going forward. The advisory committee is made up of a bunch of key leaders in public health in Cumberland County. And we've released a request for proposal to get some additional support to do a county health improvement plan. And so the county health improvement plan will really help us look at what, we have lots of health assessments that have been done. Now we're going to take those assessments and really figure out what is a plan for the whole county. And from that, we'll be able to decide what is the role of then county public health in that. But I'm excited because lots of people wanted to get on, be a part of the county health improvement plan. So it will really benefit the whole county, not just, what our program ends up doing. So that will happen over the, from January, hopefully to June. And from there, then we'll really figure out, what's the work of the program.
Thank
So I'm happy to be here. I'm really excited to be here. It's been great meeting everyone in the county and doing this work, and looking forward to working with you all. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any immediate questions of Liz? Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
And then we got Sandy Warren here, and I don't know that we introduce her enough when we're having these meetings. Sandy, if you'd like to say a few words, I'd appreciate it, just to let them know who you are and what function you're taking into account.
Absolutely. So I'm the compliance manager for Cumberland County, and right now I'm administering the ARPA funds for the county and working on that. And tonight we have some things that we're putting before you, which we'll talk about later on. But my role is to just implement and be very strategic and thoughtful about these funds and figure out a plan for the county to use them in a very strategic and thoughtful way. So I think that's where I'll end it.
Okay, thank you. We have one more, Aaron, but I understand he'll come on when we get to a topic that is going to, he's going to address for us. So at this point, I'll ask Travis, do we have any comments from the public?
We do not.
Okay, well, then we'll move on. Consent agenda approvals. We have 4 items.
Move the slate.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any, does any commissioner wish to move an item? Sue?
I just would like to know on the county, I was dispatching for Sebago. Now, is that a typo with January 1st for 2021? Because that's almost a year ago.
You're floating in and out.
Okay,
Yeah,
can you hear me?
I can answer that. As we stated in the position paper, The reason for that is that this contract kind of got lost in the shuffle between directors at the center, as well as pandemic going on. And it wasn't until the last couple of weeks that finance and the town have been talking, and we realized that their contract had not come before the commissioners. And so the contract is a 3-year contract. We're still in the process of it. We're, yes, 12 months late, but the contract is still good for another year or two. So we thought it would be prudent to bring it before you to get the official sign off, as the commissioners typically do.
Any other questions? So, Sue, you're all right with leaving the item on the consent agenda?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, we can leave it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just pleased to know I'm not the only person that puts the paper down and then forgets to pick it up for 6 months. So
Could I have anybody opposed to the consent agenda? Seeing none, Catherine, will you read the roll?
Yes, Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
All right. All in favor.
Then it passes. Consent agenda passes. New business.
Yes.
And Jim, I'm going to let you kind of guide us through this because most of this is in the administration area.
Fair enough. First up, we have amendments to our non-union personnel policy. Tonight, we bring forth a few amendments. The first is to a creation of Appendix H, which is the diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. We have brought that forward before the commissioners over the last couple of months and introduced you to that. We would like to formally adopt that policy within our non-union personnel policy this evening. We also have the recognition of Juneteenth as a holiday. As you may remember, last year, we went through a motion by the commissioners to have June 19th as a recognized holiday. We have not formally adopted that within the non-union personnel policy, so that was the intent this evening. And then lastly, we have been living under an emergency declaration that runs out December 31st. And in that emergency declaration, we do have a requirement that all new hires are prior to their first day on the job, they are fully vaccinated. With that emergency declaration running out at the end of this month, we felt that it would be a prudent thing to do is to insert it into the non-union personnel policy. Similar language requiring all employers coming on county employment be fully vaccinated prior to the first day of work. So those are the 3 items that we're requesting approval by the commissioners this evening. Dawn and I and Alex are here to answer any questions that you may have on any of them. Thank you.
Are there any Tom?
Yeah, my question is about the fully vaccinated policy. How is fully vaccinated defined? I mean, because the thrust of it, I'm perfectly happy with because that's what we ought to be doing. But I mean, is this smallpox and diphtheria and measles and everything, or is this just directed to COVID?
Jim, you want me to take that?
You can take it, or I got it right in front of me, Don.
Go for it.
Fully vaccinated includes both doses of either the Pfizer or Moderna or the single dose of the Johnson & Johnson. So it's COVID specific.
Okay. And have we had a vaccination policy prior to this, or just? I mean, because quite honestly, I would really not like to have employees that are not vaccinated for measles or, all the other things that are out there, because those, I mean, individually, they're not nearly as serious, and we've lived with them for decades and we're not worried about it. But if, I don't know, I put the question for informational purposes.
And I know enough to be dangerous in that category, so I'm going to kick it over to Don for any for the.
Yeah, and to be quite honest with you, we haven't spent, any time looking into measles and smallpox and all that, because that really has not been an issue for us.
Okay.
People are required to get certain vaccinations. We figure they have them on their record. Hasn't been an issue. We've been focusing all of our attention on COVID-19
Okay.
and its impact on the current workforce.
No, that's fine. I mean, my mother who passed away this year at the age of 99 had a scar the size of a quarter on her arm from a smallpox vaccine. And I gather, I mean, you can tell the people of that generation because that's what they had. And we've the vaccinations have been a thing that have improved public health probably almost more than anything, except and maybe even more than public sewers, which are a great public health benefit. So I'm not quibbling about this. I just want to put it out there that this is something we ought to be doing. And I support what you're doing on this. This is not a quibble. This is just I want to bring up that I think this is a good thing that we're doing, because this is something that really we need to put a stake in the ground on this particular under the current pandemic situation. So thank you very much for bringing this forward.
So Tom, what are you suggesting is that we can pass what we've got tonight?
Oh, absolutely.
What we should be looking to other issues.
Well, I mean, we need to keep this in mind. I'm not sure. I mean, to go to school now, you need to have measles, and I don't know what all vaccines you need to have. I had a bunch of them. I actually had measles as a kid because I'm a little bit too old to have had to have that vaccination. And I just as a matter of my own personal protection, I go to every time I go to my annual physical with my doctor, I say, are there any vaccinations I need? And sometimes I get a tetanus, and sometimes I get this, and sometimes I get that. But I mean, it is a major public health benefit to have this. This policy supports that trend, and I think it's very timely given this current situation. So I'm fully in favor of this. I'm not proposing any program that we go out and figure out if there's other vaccinations we ought to require. But my point of making the statement is just to keep it in the public eye that this is a major public health benefit that we're talking about.
Okay. Any other comments? Frankly, I think I agree with Tom, but for maybe a different direction. It would appear to me that any vaccination that we can get to our employees that will make them be able to serve or work for the county rather than to be out on sick leave would be to our benefit. So, Don, as you're beginning to, I guess we're asking, if you're beginning to draw a list together, you begin to put that on the list so that we can then talk about it. How would we encourage to have such things take place? Is there any other questions of Don or Jim on this particular topic? Okay. Jim, we're back to you.
Well, I think it would be appropriate to take a roll call vote. Need a motion, a second.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Is anybody opposed? Seeing none, Catherine, would you read the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
and Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous.
All right, if I still have the joystick, Steve.
You got it.
All right, next item up is the 2022 budget presentation. And the commissioners are aware through a workshop that we had in late November where we stand with the budget. But for those who are viewing tonight or who will view this in the the coming days or weeks, I'd like to take an opportunity just to go through the slideshow that has been created, talking about the budget at a kind of a 30,000 foot level. As the commissioners are aware, the Finance Committee has brought forth a positive recommendation on this budget. And I have included in your packets, and in those who are watching at home, if you'd like, you can jump into the packets that are posted on our website to see the comments from the Finance Committee. A lot of the comments are kind of directions or wishes for the process and direction of the budget for next year, as the Finance Committee serves a 3-year term. But I think it would be beneficial to take a look at those comments and see the flavor of the comments for the 2023 budget that we'll be tackling starting this coming July, August. So I'll stop talking and see if I can pull off this, share the screen, and show you a couple of slides in the PowerPoint presentation. And Travis, it looks like the host disabled participant screen sharing.
I just made you co-host, Jim. Do you have screen sharing abilities now?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Everyone see this?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. Well, as I stated back in September when I presented this for the first time to the commissioners, these were 4 themes that we had going with this budget. Salaries to keep up with the market and keep our great employees working for us. We really needed to take a look at salaries, and we needed to go through a compensation study and take a look at our non-union pay scale to make sure that we stayed competitive, we could retain our workers and attract those new workers to fill our empty positions. We saw a steady uptick in our health insurance, not per se what the main health trust is charging us, but employees changing their policies, whether they're going from not taking the health insurance to taking it, or maybe they're taking only single subscriber and they've jumped up to a single with dependents or a family. But we saw a lot of movement across the employees countywide on changes to health insurance. So, and no department was immune from that. Tax stabilization, we are proposing another contribution, capitalizing the tax stabilization even further over and above what we did last year. And we'll talk a little bit further on that in a couple of slides. And then the role of ARPA. ARPA has really played a significant benefit in county government thus far, especially in the 22 budget as it relates to largely capital items. Overall, we have a budget total expenditure that is just under $3.4 million. Our first is up $567,887. That is 4%, and the 4% is the maximum increase that you can have for a jail under state statute for new money raised. The cross insurance arena is actually down just under $280,000 from the previous year, or just over a negative 8% decrease in funding. And then if you bring together the county general fund, the jail, and the cross insurance arena, the total needs from taxes is just over $1.3 million, or for 3.87%. Under our debt, capital, and tax anticipation note, we're negative just under $48,000 or negative 3.41%. One thing I'd like to point out here is that our tax anticipation note was originally at $191,000 up until within the last week and a half. And Alex and I had talked quite a bit about that. And Alex has been working with the consultants around getting the tax anticipation note paperwork going and ready for commissioner approval come January. And that we feel as though we are not going to see the spike in the interest rate as we thought we were when we were putting together this budget. So we peeled off the $30,000 that we increased this budget line to, and we have put that $30,000 into the strategic reserve in hopes of bolstering that so that we can offset any impacts 2 or 3 years from now when ARPA goes away. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on a slide coming up. Under the human services and grants, everything is flat funded from the 2021 budget. Bonding, we will be bonding, selling the bond probably this July, August sometime. 2 items that we'd be bonding for. The first is the roof, as the commissioners have probably heard for probably the last 3 or 4 years that we needed to start thinking about doing a roof down at the jail. It's original to the jail that dates back to the early 90s, and it's time for looking at replacement. And then another round of windows at the jail. As the commissioners are aware, this past year you approved a window bid in the tune of around $50,000. This is another round of window replacement down at the jail. So a total bond just over $1.3 million. We have another contribution to the Tax Stabilization Reserve. That reserve was originally created last year and capitalized through the use of $400,000 out of the 2020 fund balance. This year, we are proposing to again capitalize the reserve through a $300,000 contract. It would work towards increasing the tax stabilization amount to $200,000. That band in purple there, it would be $200,000 when it originally was supposed to be just $150,000. And then it slides and scales to 2024 and 2025, smoothing this out a little bit more over a number of years. So we have less impact to any one budget. Some of the budget highlights I wanted to bring forth before we close this budget this year. The non-union COLA is at 3.5%. That seems a little high, but in seeing what other municipalities and counties are providing, I think we're at a good spot right there. Many municipalities and counties are looking at anywhere between 3 and 5% for their employees due to inflation that we're all experiencing. We have $100,000 budgeted for a non-union pay scale amendment implementation. As the commissioners have heard, for a couple of years now, we needed to do something with our non-union pay scale as it just was not working. And through that, we also did a compensation study, some key positions that we have in the county that we feel that we're a little further back than what the other municipalities or the private sector are paying. And so we instituted through the HR office and an outside vendor, a pay scale review of a number of the positions, classifications, and we will be working over the next 3 months on unrolling that and presenting a report to the commissioners in February or March on what that looks like. But we needed to budget for something to be able to implement the pay scale amendment. As I previously talked about, we had the reduction of $30,000 in the TAN loan due to interest rates holding. I request to move that $30,000 into regional projects, largely to kind of start funding the full cost of public health once the ARPA funds run out. And then finally, it should not be lost in all this that in 2022, the tax rate impact is significantly reduced as a result of us being able to use ARPA funds and through the 2021 fund balance use that the commissioners approved back in November. And we have another item, the next item after this budget review for further fund balance transfer. And that concludes this year's budget. Again, I'd like to thank the county's leadership team on putting together this budget. It was a budget that as manageable as possible, as we were coming out of a very low percentage, and it could have been much higher. But the leadership team really did a nice job sharpening their pencils for their individual budgets. And as always, Alex Kimball, putting this budget together and really doing yeoman's work on packaging this budget up and making it real clear on what we were looking to do. I greatly appreciate all of his help on this. So with that said, I'll conclude my presentation, stop sharing my screen, and kick it back to you, Mr. Gordon.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Do we have any questions of Jim or Alex about the budget at this time? Seeing none, I think, Jim, you've got a questionnaire or a specific wording of the motion that you would like to have put forth.
Yes, that was emailed out to you last week. We all found that we needed to add some language in motion number 2 as we addressed the non-capital CIP, but we did not touch upon the bond portion of the CIP. So we had to amend that. So if it's easy for everyone, I can read out the motions and we could take a vote after each motion. Is that okay, Commissioners?
Fine, please.
All right. Well, under the Commissioner approval order for the 2022 budget, motion 1 is motion that the county commissioners authorize the transfer of $300,000 from existing fund balance into the budget stabilization fund to be used to reduce property tax burdens in future budgets.
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Susan second it. Is there anybody in opposition? Seeing none, Catherine, would you read the roll, please?
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Muted.
That's the yes. Sorry, I had my
Okay.
mute on.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, Jim, motion 2?
Motion 2 reads, motion that the county commissioners approve the 5-year capital improvement plan, including $339,100 of non-debt CIP and $1,350,000 in bonded CIP for budget year 2022.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Susan second it. Is there anybody in opposition? Seeing none, Catherine, would you read the roll, please?
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. The motion passes. Jim, motion 3?
Motion 3, motion that the county commissioners approve the 2022 general fund budget in the following amounts. County expenditures, $24,092,634. Jail expenditures, $21,517,069. Cross insurance arena allocation, $3,151,010. Revenue, $13,000,000 $175,573. Use of tax stabilization amount, $200,000. Tax assessment, $35,385,140. Enterprise funds, $11,362,957. Grants, $3,220,100. Summary budget from all sources, gross, $63,343,770.
Can I have a motion?
So
I'll
moved.
make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, so we've got Susan making a motion, Neil, Commissioner Jameson seconding it. Is there anybody opposed? Seeing none, Catherine, would you read the roll, please?
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson, Commissioner Matonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. And if you had an option, if you saw when you read the items that were put out for the meeting, we've all got to make arrangements with Catherine to sign the motions here.
Commissioner, that will be sent out over the next couple of days from Catherine under DocuSign.
Okay.
Sign that via DocuSign.
Good.
Good.
All right. Get myself back in shape here. So I guess you've got the next one, authorize a transfer of 2021 funds into reserve accounts.
Yes, this item's coming forward and we're asking for the commissioners to consider $1.35 million worth of transfers out of the 2021 budget to the following areas. Replacement of the cross insurance arena dashboards, which is the boards and glass at a dollar amount of $400,000. $100,000 for the information technology department for replacement of servers and switches. $750,000 for the vaccination incentive and overages within our retirement payout account. And then $100,000 to be put towards a regional public safety study, which I have updated the commissioners about in regards to working with the communities around Cumberland County to look at fire, EMS, animal control, police, regional efforts. We have worked through a forecasting, I should say we, Alex has, and we are going to be ending the year on good standing. And we have a number of these items that need to be taken care of. And we felt as though moving this money into a reserve account out of using 2021 fund balance would be an appropriate request and allowed by the county charter. And so we request your consideration this evening and I'm here to answer any questions that the commissioners may have.
Any questions of Jim? Then may I have a motion to approve the transfer of $1,350,000 to reserve accounts using the 2021 year-end balance fund balance?
So moved.
Tom Coward makes the motion. Second,
Second.
Mr. Cloutier, Commissioner Cloutier. Is there anybody in opposition? Seeing none, Catherine, would you read the roll, please?
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Matonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. It's approved unanimously. Jim, I guess you've got the accept the amended county commissioners bylaws.
Yes, thank you. As we discussed in a workshop back in November, we talked about reactivating our desires of changing our budget year for our general fund budget from January to December to July to June. As the commissioners will remember, we were heading down this road before the pandemic came upon us. The commissioners, rightfully so, hit the pause button a few months later on the thought that the communities may not be in the best position financially because of loss of revenue and other impacts to their budgets. So you suspended our moving towards a fiscal year budget for the general fund budget. And we have remained that way up until tonight, where I asked that the commissioners consider undergoing first reading of your bylaws in changing dates. And the dates fall within section 5-2. And it talks about the transition year for our budgeting purposes would be January 1st, 2023. And we would create a 6-month budget, January to June 30th of 2023. And then our first full fiscal year would start July 1st, 2023, and extend to June 30th, 2024. So that's what the changes are within that section. It's purely dates. This is first reading because it does take 2 readings to change the bylaws. And I'd ask for a positive vote on the first reading and sending this to the January 8th meeting for final action. Thank you.
Second,
I'll second.
Susan seconds. Is there anybody in opposition? Jim?
I have a question. I know that we at least thought that we received quite a bit of expression of relief when we made the delay that occasions this. And I'm just wondering whether there's any update on the anticipated impact on the municipalities, whether this timeframe reflects any discussions with them, or whether it's just an assumption that another year and a half would probably do it. And I don't need an answer to that today. I'm happy to vote for anything in first reading, and we can deal with that when it comes up in January.
Well, I can answer that, Commissioner. I have had numerous conversations over the last 6 months of town managers across the county asking when we were going to get this going again. As recently as the Lakes Region Managers meeting last Wednesday. And all are very favorable and are willing to work with the county on making this happen. So I think we have a good, strong acceptance by the town managers in the county.
I will add, I completely see the sense of doing this. All these municipalities probably would have cash balances at the same moment when we're borrowing money, because we don't have that kind of cash flow stability. So, it does make a lot of sense, frankly, and the overall governmental system ends up spending less money.
Any other comments? Tom Cowett.
Yeah, just to point out, this is something we started before the pandemic. I think it had broad support from the municipalities, and it just makes us, we've been operating since I've been a commissioner on this sort of odd situation where we are the only major governmental entity in the county that's on a calendar year basis. And it just made it complicated and difficult for us to do what we wanted to do. And this will also save the county a lot of money. So I was content that we put it off while we were in the middle of lockdown, but now I'm really happy that we're bringing this back. I think this is a good tool to streamline our operations and to help everybody out. So this is I don't want to say it's housekeeping, because it's more than that. It's a structural change in how we operate, but it's for the benefit of everybody. Basically, it'll make our operations more efficient and less, reduce our operating expenses to some extent.
Good. Any other comments? Is there anybody, we have a motion. Is there anybody opposed to the motion? Seeing none, Catherine, would you read the roll, please?
Commissioner Cloutier,
Whoops.
Yes.
okay, so Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes, the motion passes. Since we've done the other motions that leads up to this, Jim, do you want to put this forth to authorize the county manager to notify within Cumberland County of the county budget year change?
Yes, like to have that authorization given to staff from the commissioners. One thing I want to point out, we're going to go under the same format as we did last time, and that is to provide communities up to 5 years to soften the impact of that 6 months budget. And so some communities last time took advantage of the 5 years. Some came in and said they'll do 3 years. Some came in and said they'll pay it all off at once. So it varied, but it was welcomed and appreciated that the commissioners would go and ease the burden over 5 years to some of these communities.
So can I have, the motion is, as was stated, can I have somebody to authorize the motion?
I'll authorize it.
Thank you, Susan. Second, I have a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Tom Coward. Do we have anybody in opposition? Seeing none, Catherine, would you read the roll, please?
All right, Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes,
Okay.
the motion
See.
passes. Now for a good item, the to change.
Speak for yourself.
Appointment of the new chair and vice chair for 2022. And before I pass this on, let me say that I have really enjoyed the process and the support that we all have given the county. It's been a struggle because of not only the COVID, which is, it really has put us on edge, but the struggle has been working with our staff, who has been exemplar in their performance. It's just, I've sat back and I've talked to a number of commissioners in the other role that I play, and it is, they are amazed at what we have been able to accomplish, not only because of, the commissioners doing what I indicate the right thing, but what our staff has done. And this goes for everybody. I mean, all our registrars and the sheriff, and then our internal staff that like Dawn and et cetera. And I keep poking at Dawn, I know, because I keep sending him information about this is going on, that's going on. Do you want to participate? And I politely had the manager take me aside a little bit and said, he's a busy man. Well, he is, and so are we all. But I thank everybody for what they have done. It really, you should pat yourself on the back. So with that, let's see if I can find the item.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the item where we transfer all the work to you, Susan.
That's not till January, okay?
Yeah, really.
Don't push it.
We
I
have
would-
to plan.
Well, I can help you out, Steve. The motion is
ahead.
appoint Susan Watonis, Chair, and Neil Jameson, Vice Chair for 2022.
Do I have a
I'll move that slate.
Thank you, Tom. Do I have a second?
As long as it doesn't come to me, I'm happy.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, Catherine, would you read the roll, please?
Absolutely. Commissioner Cloutier,
Very difficult vote here. Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Oh, a full-throated yes. It's a wonderful slate. They've been there before. They do a great job, and I'm pleased to put them forward.
Commissioner Jameson,
I will abstain.
And so you can vote for yourself. That's okay.
Okay, I'll vote for myself.
Commissioner Watonis,
Sure.
and Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, before I cast my vote, let me say this. Susan has been a wonderful vice chair. She's grabbed me by the ear a number of times and says, no, you're not going to do that. And which I really appreciate. She's kept me on the straight and narrow. She let me know about a lot of information that's kept me out of trouble. And so the chair is well earned by her. Thank you, Susan. Yes,
Yeah.
I support it. So with that being, we have a new chairman in Susan Watonis and a new vice chair in Neil Jameson. And do you want to, do you want to take over now, Susan, or do you want to?
No, that's perfectly fine. I don't go on until January.
Okay. I presume that's all right with you, Neil.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We need to talk to our people.
Okay, let's see, ARP business. Again, Jim, I will pass this to you.
All right, I will take this first one as I will let Sandy take the next. All right, Sandy. This first item is being brought forth to you for Board of Funding to the City of Portland and Tedford House. As the commissioners are aware, back in October, you first received letters of request by the city manager of the City of Portland and the CEO of Tedford House, as both entities were or are going through a shelter expansion project and currently raising the necessary funds to make those projects reality. We felt as though that these two projects may need to be taken out of turn a little bit just to give them a sense of security and that funding would or would not be available to them. And so you have 60 days to have this discussion with the commissioners and test your willingness to fund these two worthwhile projects. Both projects had submitted a pre-application through the APA process. And those pre-applications were provided to you during a workshop in late November. And again, both of them are in your packets this evening, really spelling out what the requests are for. At the workshop in November, the commissioners came to a conclusion that the City of Portland, though requesting $5 million for their project from the county's opera funds, you would be able to fund them $3 million. And Tedford House originally came forth with a $3 million request, and we would be looking to move a funding level of $1.5 million to them. Both of these items would be paid through the county's second tranche of funds that will be coming in May or June of 2022. And one additional note, in the workshop, it was discussed by the commissioners that Tedford House also put in just over $106,000 for a feasibility study to determine the level of need for housing services out in the Lakes region. This is an item that Commissioner Witonis and I have been working on for over a year now. And we felt as though having a review and determining whether there was any role of the county in working towards providing homelessness services out in that area would be beneficial. Through this feasibility study, we hope to learn more with that regard. So this motion would not only have $3 million going to the city of Portland, $0.5 million to Tedford House for their new shelters, but additional $106,642 for the feasibility study being conducted by Tedford House for the Lakes region area of Cumberland County. With that said, I'd be available to answer any questions the commissioners have. Not sure if Aaron's there and just has his camera off, but Aaron is the shelters director for the city of Portland. Graciously enough, nice enough to join us this evening if there was any questions on his part. So thank you.
Do we have any questions?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Steve, I would just like to say that this is a historic experience and event for Cumberland County and for Southern Maine. It represents the best of the work that we can do in public government. Yes, the ARPA funding is helping, but we're doing it both on a local and regional basis. And it really speaks well to the type of executive work that our staff is doing, and to make this commitment, and us as a whole as a county. So I'm fully support this and look forward to seeing the results of those two complexes.
Thank you. Neil.
I have a comment.
Commissioner Cloutier.
Yeah, I just want to start by complimenting both the manager and Commissioner Witonis. I'm particularly impressed by the concept that we're going to try to explore the kind of the non-Portland elements of homelessness. The Portland elements are well known, front and center. There's a huge need which we all have been aware of for some time, and I'm certainly glad to see that Portland does not have the only laboring oar in a situation like this. Their undertaking is obviously quite extensive, and I'm glad we're contributing to it. And frankly, I wish we could contribute more to both projects. It's well known by the commission that we've got, I think it was $88 million worth of requests for $13 million or something like that. It was it's going to be very challenging. But our strategic plan for some time has identified assisting addressing the homeless problem in the entire county, including some of the ex-urban areas and the suburban areas, and certainly including Portland as well. So I think this is a big step forward, and the kind of the knowledge flow that we can hope to obtain from a well-run study, helping us understand better the kind of the hallmarks and the characteristics of homelessness in some of the less urban parts of the county would be very welcome information for us to have and to work with in the future.
Thank you, Tom. Jim, thank you very much. Other comments from the commissioners? Tom Cohen.
Yeah, it's just, this is something Cumberland County should be doing. This is homelessness is a regional problem, not simply a city of Portland problem or a Bridgeton problem or any particular town. So we're taking the first steps in trying to treat it as such. So I'm very much in favor of this, and I would like to thank staff for doing the negotiation to put this together. This makes all kinds of sense to me. I'm hoping we will gain the knowledge to understand, get our hands around the issue a little bit more, and figure out ways that maybe help everybody get over this. We have a problem. Portland is an expensive place to live. Southern Maine is an expensive place to live. And that makes it very, very difficult for people who are sort of on the margins of the economic margins to manage to provide shelter for themselves. So I would love to have the knowledge to figure out solutions to the problem, or at least move ourselves down the road to finding solutions. So this is good. This is a very, very worthwhile step we're taking.
Other comments? Well, I'd like to add one other item that I see here. What we're seeing, and again, I compliment Jim and Commissioner Watonas with the regional study, because we're beginning to see that there are areas that need service, and it makes it hard for somebody in the outer reaches of our county to get services, so they come into Portland. If there's a way to let them be with their culture and their people and their families and so forth, that to me, that makes a lot of sense. The other thing that has sprung up here that I will put forth is that Saginaw County is also going to give money to, or grant money to Tedford House. So by them doing that, I don't know that this necessarily has been put forth, but by them doing that, it shows that these needs are based in groupings that don't necessarily follow the geography of a county or a community. And I think that's very important for the public to understand, and we begin to grasp as political leaders, because that's the future, is to serve those areas that are common and not try to take something away from them and how they live. Is there any other comments that we need? Seeing none, we have a motion, correct? And so if there's anybody in opposition? Seeing none, Catherine, would you read the roll, please?
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Watonas. I need a verbal confirmation, Commissioner Watonas. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
All right. Great.
Thank you,
Passes.
people. That's very, very important. As has been expressed here, I think what we've done is we've cracked an egg. So,
Chair, if I could just ask, could we give the city of Portland an opportunity? Brendan
Aaron?
and have been hanging out, watching us on YouTube, and they're in the meeting. I just want to give them the opportunity to say anything before we move on.
go ahead, Aaron.
I won't take too much of your time, but thank you for having me tonight, commissioners. Really, really appreciate the time and appreciate all the sentiments that were just laid out. I think that that's a perfect thought process to move forward with a regional approach, and we really, really appreciate the county's partnership and collaboration in this. And I think it'll be something that we can really put forward as a model of success to get folks their resources and wraparound services to those folks that most need them in our community. So thank you.
Appreciate the comments.
Thank you, Aaron. I see Brendan. Do you have
Yes, sure. I just wanted to repeat Aaron's comments and also say thank you guys so much. Obviously, we've made a huge time commitment to the project, and we've also made a financial commitment as well. We just signed a $32.5 million lease for the Homeless Services Center over the 25-year period that the lease will run. We've also committed $3.5 million of our ARPA funds for an upfront capital contribution, and we're obviously going to be headed to the state trying to get them to make some additional upfront contributions. So we really truly want this to be a collaboration, and it has been so far. Thank you guys so much for your partnership. It's really appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just so you know, I introduced Aaron as affiliate with the shelters for Portland. Brendan's the finance director for the city of Portland.
Yeah, you always have to have one of those.
Thank you both for joining us this evening. Appreciate your time.
Okay. Approve the priorities and criteria of APRA applications. Manager Gailey, I believe what you're talking about is what we have at the moment, and it doesn't mean that the priorities couldn't be changed in the future.
Correct. So I'll take this one, Commissioner Gordon. This is the, at our workshop on the 28th, we kind of went over this and reviewed priorities and identifying those. And it would be just for this particular round that we could apply it to, and those can be changed and amended. And we probably would want to do that as COVID changes and as our needs change throughout the next couple of months. And that's something we can certainly bring back to the commission if need be. But right now, this helps us just prioritize and get a better handle on the 101 applications that we have and how to prioritize that funding and money. And so for right now, this is a really good platform for us to use and utilize. And it leads into the next motion that we would be asking for tonight, which is confirming that we allow to have an advisory committee for those ARPA funds, so that we have a group of, right now we have four applicants from the community. And then we're also going to have some staff on that as well, the advisory committee, to help us then score and review those applications and make the recommendations to the commissioners. And so that's where the memo from the workshop on the 28th, where we're setting those priorities and goals, helps us to look at those, review those applications with the priorities outlined for us. And then we'll of course have a scoring process that will go along with the applications, but this just helps us carve out some of those other applications that would otherwise not be top tier. And you had all talked about, when we discussed housing, shovel-ready projects for housing being a #1 priority on that list, and then followed by mental health and substance abuse, and all of which are for capital capacity gain and capacity building. And then followed by new American job training, food insecurity, childcare, and infrastructure, just as a good platform for us to outline. And again, just be thoughtful, but streamline and be strategic about how we prioritize the applications and go through them. And so tonight we just have to have a motion to approve the memo from the workshop from you guys.
All right, so if you've had a chance to digest the ARP prioritization criteria that's been put forth, I would ask for a motion to approve those priorities and criteria.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second by Susan. Is there anybody in opposition? Seeing none, Catherine, would you read the roll, please?
Okay. Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Matonis,
Yes.
and Commissioner Gordon.
Yes, it's approved. Thank you. And then the next item that Sandy brought forth was approve and the establishment and appointment of the county's ARPA Advisory Committee. And that was the
So
next.
moved.
Great. Can I have a second? I got a second from Neil. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, those in favor? Excuse me. Sandy, please read the roll.
Okay, Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. And so the motion passes. At this
Commissioner?
time, yes, go ahead.
Could I just ask, so that we have clarification within the minutes? It looks as though the commissioners may have voted for the shelter money, and everyone agree with it, so that we can move on and then we have a thorough meeting.
You're breaking up, Jim.
Especially since we're talking about some large sums. Am I back?
I'm not sure. You broke up. Are you asking?
So,
did
I
we vote?
think I know, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman. So I have a motion that we approve the funds proposed to be appropriated for the Tedford House, for the Portland shelter, and for the investigative study. And I think it may be that we didn't actually vote on that. So that's my motion.
I'll second.
Is there any opposition? Seeing none, Catherine, please read the roll. I really think we did, but.
Okay,
Well, then
so,
we did it twice. Yeah.
Yeah, we did it twice. That's right.
so this
Probably
is for,
just motion to act the dollar amounts, Catherine, maybe identify the dollar amounts per item.
Oh, okay. I see where the confusion is. What it was is the motion was what was stated here to approve the authorization of the 3 million So, but all right, let's have a clarifying motion here. We want a motion.
I move to amend, I think it's an amendment, to the current motion to set forth the specific amounts in the allotment, the $3.1 million to the city of Portland. That's the number, the
$1.5 million, I believe, to Tedford.
yeah,
Yeah.
Tedford House, and $106,000 for the study.
I accept that amendment.
Lakes regions. Yeah.
All right, Catherine, please read the roll.
all right, Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. All right.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. I guess you're keeping us on a real taut line there. Good
You're
thing.
welcome.
Thank you.
No. Yeah. I mean, we know what we want to do, but sometimes we need help expressing what we want to do. So thank you. Thank you so much for the backup on that.
All right. Is there any other questions or any other new business that we need? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Wait a minute.
Oh, Sandy, did you have something?
No, I just, we voted for the appointees as well, right? That was wrapped into that one motion. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Okay. That's it.
Commissioners will enter into an executive session in accordance with 1 MRSA 4056E to discuss the national opioid lawsuit the county is named in. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And I'm Tom Coward moved, James Cloutier seconded.
Second. Yep.
Is there anybody in opposition? Seeing none, would you please read the roll? Catherine?
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Coward,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Matonis.